For my final learning presentation, I decided to address a simple way to learn to read tarot cards. There are many ways, some are much more complicated than others. What I'd like to do is have people tell a short story based on a very simple spread. A little bit of background before we get into the understanding by design. Many people, when they think of tarot, there's a touch of fear. They think of psychics, of fortune tellers, perhaps they think someone needs special skills. Of these three images, a traditional fortune teller, a contemporary woman looking at the cards on a table, and a computer program, most people think of the first one, a fortune teller. A psychic who has some kind of deep skill who would be able to tell the future. And the tarot has nothing to do with that. Also, before I get started, I had to take the cognitive load into account. A full deck of tarot cards has 78 cards. 22 are the major arcana, or basic archetypes. The rest of them are minor arcana, or really suits, and there are 4 suits with 14 cards each. There is no way to remember the meaning of each of 78 cards, so there are ways to really simplify what people need to know. With this, I want to talk about why I chose the design strategy, how my design will achieve results, and what kind of learning occurs. And this is an abstract image of a tarot card on the side. The beginning of my design strategy, why I chose certain theoretical concepts, I started with social construction. When we look at these cards, like I said, they don't really tell the future. They may help people make decisions. You can use them to tell a story. I sincerely doubt that people who use them have psychic abilities. I've been reading them for years without having any abilities. So the first thing is social construction. How we use our knowledge to create reality as an ongoing process. I also looked at connectivism because it's very important in a spread of cards to see how they are connected, what aspects to look at, and really create meaning from these aspects. I also wanted to take learning styles into account, and within the tarot, we use many different learning styles. Visual, obviously, all the cards have images. Auditory and verbal go together. One person reads what they see, narrates, explains, the other person listens. People can actually take turns. Kinesthetic, I prefer having cards in my hand than looking at them online, although we can still use many emerging technologies to work with tarot. They do have an internal logic, and they're social when you read someone else's cards, although if someone wants to work with them on a solitary basis, they can work online with many different apps. Now, how my design strategy will achieve results, it's definitely based on Zoll's model. We have an abstract hypothesis. We learn the meaning of the suits and certain very basic ideas. Active testing, I will have people draw a card, explain, try to find a card that represents themselves. And then the concrete experience, putting out a spread of cards and explaining what they see. Reflection on a blog, reflection discussing with another person, and then starting all over again. We'll use emerging technologies as blogs, Facebook groups, and then there are also apps which I am not really using, but they do exist. There are many of them out there. Now, the 6 facets of learning, basically the what results will be achieved, are also taken into account. Students will choose a card to signify themselves and be able to explain why. They'll be able to explain the meaning between cards. Pulling up cards, using them to tell a story will both apply and interpret the meaning of cards. Discussing the story with another person will help with understanding and with perspective, and even with empathy, seeing the other person's perspective. So many of these facets of learning will be taken into account. So, in summary, students will acquire knowledge and skills, learning basic meanings. They'll make meaning with single cards, with different cards. They'll transfer the meaning to different spreads when they pull different cards, how they relate to each other differently. And they will be able to tell a story based on the exercises and the activities that they've had. I would like to end by asking you, go find a deck of tarot cards. They're very different. Some are abstract, some are contemporary. Here you have a steampunk deck that's one of the newer ones. Choose one that speaks to you and give it a try. Good luck.